Hey everybody, here we are with another day, another story, and I have a good one for you guys today. It kind of relates to the thing of we are all gonna have to be with these weirdos in paradise, because that's kind of how I started feeling when people would say, well, that's your brother. Well, that's your sister. You better get along because they're going to be in paradise with you. And, when some people are really jerks and you feel like they have been very unkind to you, that statement takes on a sort of disgust, because you think, well, I don't want to live near them in paradise. That is not paradise. They're not nice people. I would move away, So here's the story where I really started thinking that, people were saying it a lot. So here's the story. I was in the foreign language congregation, and there was an elder and his wife who were really nice. I felt very close to them. I have to really speak honestly here. We felt like... No, it wasn't by every single person, but it kind of felt like we were outsiders. And it felt like we were foreigners in that congregation, because we weren't native speakers. And it just feels like you're a little put to the side, maybe. I can't really explain it, but sometimes I had the feeling like they didn't want us there, even though he was an elder and they were pioneering together, and they were really kind of mistreated there too. I have to honestly say that. The congregation, the rest of the elder body, they were not very nice, and I don't think they were really nice to him. Well, everyone that was on the elder body was kind of very young in the quote unquote truth and newly baptized. And so it ended up that we will call him Jared, the American, and his wife Rita, the American couple in this foreign language congregation. It ended up that he was made presiding overseer, and I'm sure it had something to do with the circuit overseer coming around. And this was a former Bethelite, years of dedicated service, and everyone else was young. So now he's the presiding overseer in a group of elders that really don't respect him. That's what I gathered from this. And here's another weird thing. They took a hiatus of pioneering, which I completely understand, because, if you're working full time and your wife kind of has health problems, you just sometimes can't pioneer all the time. And then to be an elder, work full time, all that, I get it. So I think sometimes we do things too to get into the good graces of the congregation and all this. So they applied to be full-time pioneers again. And it was just so crazy to me, because the body of elders rejected their application to full-time pioneer, and he was the presiding overseer. He was just a really nice guy. And it was just so bizarre. And I'm pretty sure it was really bizarre to them too, because they were like, what the heck? And also, come on, Watchtower. These are free people, people who want to serve with free labor for your organization. And you're really going to treat them like that and not let them slave for you for free. It's so bizarre. And then it's just this control and public humiliation to be rejected as pioneers, the both of them. And it was really weird to them. And shortly thereafter, Jared, I have to honestly say, always very sweet, very caring guy. Did he do things that were wrong? Yes, because I think that elders kind of, if you're an elder, you disfellowship people, there's certain things that you do, but that's kind of also being part of a cult. We all become victims and perpetrators at the same time. Yanya Lalid, she explained that really well, because she said that you are so groomed in a cult to report on each other, to keep an eye on each other, for elders to disfellowship each other, So, yeah, I mean, he was not always innocent with things, but as a person, I do really think he was nice. And I think the whole experience for him just, was too much. He left. He didn't fade. He, exploded away. It was like a bomb went off. And I understood, He just couldn't do it anymore. So he moved far, far away, completely stopped going, got disfellowshipped, and they got divorced. So that was it. And it was confusing, too, because they were kind of the couple always that did everything with each other, were always, nice and stuff. But at the same time, if you're married to someone in a cult, it ends up being are you really compatible? You can be two nice people, but the only thing that you have in common is really this organization, the cult, And maybe that was the case with them, that they really didn't have anything else in common, even though they were both nice people. And I always found them to be very sweet and caring. If someone moved, they were there. If something happened, they were there. That's how I always perceived them. So anyways, he exploded out of the cult. Good for him. Goodbye, out. And we did feel bad for her, because as a J-Dub wife, who was formerly an elder's wife, you are falling from a high spot to a low spot. And she felt that, she felt humiliated by her demotion. And there's just some really weird things that started happening, but at the same time, you have compassion, because she's just going through a divorce, with her Bethelite husband. And so I kind of, I'm trying to be supportive of people. So we're well, screw him, and all this. And so we had a divorce party for her. I really was trying to make you have a fresh beginning, and you're still young, and all this, you can do this. And there was a couple where the wife was a Jehovah's Witness and the husband wasn't, but they really wanted to do a favor to her and help her out. So they bought an old apartment and they remodeled it for her, because she didn't know where to go. She didn't really have a place to live or go to. And so she was very grateful, and she moved into this apartment. And this is the first little red flag. When I said apartment, she would correct me and say my condo. And I'm okay, I didn't even know that mattered, but whatever. Okay, condo. And then she was going somewhere, I think these people in the congregation started taking her on trips so she could watch the kids, but they paid for the whole trip for her and stuff. And she asked me if I could come and feed her cats. Now, I am no problem helping people out, except I had 3 little babies, one extremely allergic to cats. My ex really was never helpful with the kids or anything. So I somehow tried to go feed the cats for a week, twice a day, which is a whole trip for me. But what am I going to do with the babies at the same time? I can't leave them in the car. I can't take them inside. That was such a dilemma. And I guess people don't really realize, but you really are I can't leave them home alone. I can't leave them in the car, and I can't take them inside. So what do you do? It's a lot to ask of someone who has 3, a newborn baby basically, and 2 toddlers. They were so little. And so after a while, this condo wasn't really bougie enough for her. And my mom at the time, who really didn't have a lot either, helped her out to buy a washer and a dryer. We were all just trying to rally around her and help her out. And so she was making interest-free payments to my mom. And after a while, my mom's it's okay, don't worry about it. I've gone through this really hard situation, don't worry. And we would have her over for dinner at my mom and grandpa's house all the time. Just, help her out constantly. And She then was like, this little condo of mine isn't basically like bougie enough for me anymore, and she moved across town. And the people who had just bought this and remodeled it for her were like pissed. Now, I don't really know who's in the wrong or right here. I'm just saying that it's a mistake sometimes to make business with brothers, with friends, with family without a contract. You know, they should have had a contract with her. She had like extremely cheap rent, but it wasn't a bad area, but it wasn't like the nicest either. It was really like a transition for her. And she dipped pretty quickly after they had like remodeled the whole thing. But for whatever that is, I don't even know. And there was a few little things that happened that were like that, where she just kind of came off as like a little bit demanding and not grateful. And that's one thing I can't stand. It's like, I will help and help happily, but don't expect it. Don't expect people and then be demanding without saying thank you and all this. And actually, when she was moving to the new apartment, she asked me if I could help her move. And I was so stressed about it because, again, I'm like the wrong person to ask as a mother with 3 little kids. And I ended up being so stressed. Plus, I had all this marriage trouble at home, so he wasn't watching the kids like ever. And so I ended up having to tell her, like, I can't help you move. It's not like I don't want to, but I have 3 kids. And, it's like, ask some of the young brothers in the hall or something. I don't know. And then like the guilt you feel as a J-dub, because I very much felt like I should be helping her. So anyways, fast forward, we ended up moving to a new state. And when we moved, my ex-husband was disfellowshipped already, pretending like he's working on himself, like he wants to come back and he wants to be a good husband. All that blah, blah was all so phony and fake. If you haven't listened to my story, the first episode on this channel is how all that went down. But I was just going through it with him and his sex addiction, and it was horrible. So now here, we'll call her Rita. Rita kept like bugging me. She wants to visit because she was kind of, I don't want to say on the hunt for a man, because I don't like when people do that to sisters. I mean, people are like, oh, she's so thirsty and all that. It's a normal human need to want love. And especially if you were raised as a Jehovah's Witness and like the man is your caretaker, it's so scary to suddenly be on your own. So she wanted to find a boyfriend. And I mean, I don't really think that's wrong. And on top of that, it's so hard to find someone among J-dubs. So I'm sure she also wanted to come visit, because here she wanted to like meet a man. Maybe I'm in a new state, new congregation. Maybe she can meet a man. I get it. Like, I totally got it. It wasn't like I didn't want her to visit me. It was that I was just going through a lot of stress at the moment. And have visitors when your spouse is disfellowshipped is just incredibly awkward and hard. And we did actually already had like a lot of family members who were visiting, and I had to like keep them separate. And it was just, and on top of that, I just felt like in general, she was more like expecting everyone to pay for her, like kind of demanding. And I just couldn't swing it. Like, we were not wealthy ourselves at all, so. But she said to me eventually, like, if you meet a nice brother, why don't you, kind of, introduce me or something? And I'm all for it, because sometimes how else are you going to meet somebody? I mean, the J-dubs are like, oh, don't matchmake, whatever. If 2 people are lonely and they meet and they're really happy together, it's not the organization's business to intervene. So I was all happy to help her out. She'd been single at this point for a few years. I totally get it. And so I was in my new congregation one day, and there was a family where he was a single dad, and we'll call him Ari. And his parents were there too. They're really nice people. And he was kind of shy. I didn't really talk to him much, but our kids were the same age, so we were like, we would see each other, but he just felt like just a regular dude, you know. And one day we're all like out with the kids, and Ari's parents came up to me and they said, "Don't you know a nice sister for our son to marry?" And, you know, that's like how J-dubs talk immediately, like, to marry, you know. And I said, "Actually, I do know a nice sister, and she's really been looking, you know. Maybe if it's okay, I can ask her. I can, you know, give her his phone number and vice versa." And the mom was just like so excited. And they really didn't seem like meddling people. They seemed like really nice, genuine J-dubs, and they seemed to have like a really good relationship with the son. And so I texted her his phone number first, and I really didn't hear anything. You know, she was like grateful, but I really didn't hear anything. And I was like, all right, well, I guess, you know, it doesn't always work out, but whatever. I bigger fish to fry. I tried, I helped you out, whatever. And so a few meetings go by, and Ari kind of corners me after the meeting. And it's like my first real like interaction with him, and he was being such a jerk. He's like, "I did not even like want to meet anybody, and now I'm in this situation where she's talking to me and I don't know how to get out of it. Like, am I gonna have to change my phone number?" And I felt bad. And I know a lot of you guys will be like, "This is why we don't matchmake." Like, but who knows, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I mean, you should just tell her, you know, I'm not interested. My parents set this up. Like, I'm just so sorry. But I did feel like he was extremely harsh and rude, because, I don't know, it was just like, you could just tell her, "No, sorry, you're not interested. Focusing on being a father, blah, 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 whatever." So weeks go by, and I'm thinking, well, I guess that didn't work out, you know, because boy, was he pissed, right? And so our hall in the new state was tiny. It was very old building, and we were really packed in there like sardines. There was actually several congregations that met there. And so I always thought we're going to get a new Kingdom Hall soon, because it was way too small. You couldn't even find seats sometimes. But I guess the building was paid off. I don't even know. But anyways, we're all cramped in there. And you really couldn't see from one end to the other, because it was a long hall. It wasn't like one of those wide ones where you see everybody. So I'm usually sitting in the back with the kids. And my son, it's like a packed meeting, and my son says to me, he says to my mom, "Rita is here." And my mom goes, "No, honey, she's nowhere near this state. She lives far away. It must be someone who looks like Rita." And he goes, "No, I know Rita. It's our friend. Rita is here." And my mom again goes like, "I don't think so, honey." And so my kid, pretty small as he was, the technology wizard, takes her phone, puts the camera on, and from his angle he could see, but my mom couldn't. And he zooms in and takes a picture and shows it to my mom, and he goes, "See? Rita is here." Or like, "Sister Rita is here." And my mom's chin is like on the floor, because Rita was sitting next to Ari with the child, and she had like, I think, her arm around the child, which kind of showed they had already seen each other or met before then. I'm telling you, you guys, if you have like a brain explosion emoji moment, this was it. I was just like, what the heck is up here? And, you're just like having to get through the meeting now, and you're just so confused. Like, what the heck is happening right now? So they're dating, and why did he yell at me? And what is just happening? And why didn't she even say she's coming down here to visit us? Like, this is so confusing. And we were very close. I mean, we were very close. So for you to have a really close friend like this and them showing up in your hall, in your state, I mean, hours upon hours away and not tell you is mind-boggling. And I was just in shock. And so after the meeting, it's not even that she like came up to me. Everyone was coming up to her, and I always kind of had to get the kids out. I was just so confused, and it's awkward because you're like, what the heck is happening? So we're kind of like, we saw each other after the meeting, and it was just so distant and weird. And she was, you know what, in all honesty, this is because I can't come up with a like solution to why this was happening, but I think that she did not want anyone to know that it was like matchmaking. And I don't think that she wanted anyone to know like her past. And I was like the link to her past and the link to her matchmaking. So in my hall, she didn't tell anybody that she knew us. And in my hall, she said she was from her like birth state, not the state that we had lived in for a very long time and served the foreign language congregation together. She said she was from a different state. And I was like, this is so freaking weird. And so one of the sisters I had gotten close to in this hall, I told her everything. But you know, when you're in a cult, you have to kind of worry that even if you're speaking the truth and you're just telling a story, that someone's going to come after you for gossiping or, you know, just mind your own business and all that. But I just felt like this whole situation's so bizarre. I'm like, I know her. As a matter of fact, Rita's former husband, the elder that was in our hall, gave my wedding talk. Come on. Like, we were close, you know. I'm just like completely mind-boggled. And then, wouldn't you know it, she appears, she comes back to visit, and they got married. Yes, they did. They got married. And she did not talk to us at all anymore. She was so freaking weird. And you feel that in the congregation. Like, her husband, the weirdo, never ever, like, looked at us again. I don't know what I did. And then, you know, she didn't look at us. She didn't talk to us. And I felt like, what happened here? And, like, not an invitation to the wedding. She had a wedding at the Kingdom Hall. I didn't know anything about it, really, till afterwards. And it just was so weird. It was just bizarre. Did they look happy together? Not really. I mean, he kind of looked like it was something he had to do. Or did she chase him so much that she wore him down and his parents kind of pushed him? I don't know. Can't say. Can only tell you that he didn't look happy. She didn't look happy. And I was just like, these weird people, like, what is wrong with you? We were so close. It's not like there was a fight or anything. There was not. I don't say mean things to people, so I don't think it was anything like that. Like, I don't know what happened here, but I did grow to very much dislike the two just because of how weird they were being. And I felt like it was kind of cruel. Like, here we were here for you, girl. Like, we were really here for you. And then, like, what is this behavior? Like, and why? I still, to this day, don't even know why. She just didn't say that they were dating, that they were getting married and all. It's just so weird. But especially how he was so rude to me, I just couldn't stand them anymore. And then I thought, like, this is so freaking weird being in one congregation with them because they were kind of like a thorn in my flesh. I'm like, I had peace before, brought it upon myself because here was like trying to help a friend out. But yes, I did bring it on myself. But anyways, the people in the congregation started saying to me, well, you better make peace with them because you're going to have to live next to them in paradise. And I'm thinking, it's not like I didn't have peace with them. Nothing even happened. It's not like there was anything even there. They're being weird. How can you make peace with someone who kind of soft shuns you and who has like some kind of weird grudge against you that you don't even know? And who knows on their end, like, what's in their mind, what happened on their end. Maybe I wasn't spiritual enough. She really wanted to be. And that was another thing that she said at some point. She's like, I really miss being an elder's wife. I remember her saying that, and I was like, what the heck? It's not about that. And it was one of those red flags, where you're like, oh, you liked having that status. So maybe I was like not elitish enough for her, which is fine with me because I didn't even ever really like those snooty elite people. And when her ex-husband, Jared, and her were in my foreign language congregation, they weren't really like elitish like that. They were nice. They were not like high society, high rank people. But that sentence started really bothering me. Like, you're going to have to live with these people in paradise. And when I think of like the jerk elder in the foreign language congregation who called me a stripper because I had my belly button pierced, I thought, man, there's a lot of these people who I really don't want to live with. Like, paradise on earth kind of seems like a nightmare when you're stuck with people you can't stand. And just to say this too, I'm hearing like some comments that are saying, oh, like one bad thing happens after another. This has everything to do with being in a cult. Because when you're in a cult, you're trapped with bad people and bad things happening. And at the time, you don't realize that you can leave, that you have the power to leave. So when there is abuse by people in the higher ranks, by your spouse, and yes, a lot of bad things happen to you, and they will over and over as long as you're in that high control religion. And I feel like when somebody says that, it's really important to understand how cults work, that you're trapped in there with people who you would never choose as friends, ever. All these, like, elders who were snooty and their pioneer wives, I never did like them. It's just that I grew up with them and I kind of just accepted them, But I just kind of tried to stick closer to the nice people. And I know a lot of times we heard that you have to like branch out and go in field service car groups with other people and not just have like your posse. But I learned that if I was stuck with like awful people, I just wouldn't go out in service. And so I would make plans with people who were chill or nice, who I really cared for. And that was funny because our presiding overseer in the new congregation in the new state, he was such a nice person. And he would, like, when I was going through the divorce, he would always kind of go out with us, kind of helping, the kids along. And I appreciated him. And I said to him, like, you're such a, like, funny goofball, but you can't always go in service with us because people are going to be mad, And he goes, well, I learned a long time ago that if you don't make plans, you get stuck with crazy. And I had to just laugh because he was like this big kid who would just say silly things, and we loved him and we loved his wife. And so I loved it when he would go in service with us, but I knew that you had to branch out and that people look down. But then again, if you're the presiding overseer, who cares if somebody looks down? They're not going to say anything to you, This was not long before I woke up, actually, and that all, of course, contributed it because, my gosh, there's so many weirdos. Like, this whole situation from a friend, like, what the heck is happening? Like, you weirdos, why can't you just be normal and be like, yeah, we got match made, and yes, I was married before, and maybe that is it too. Maybe it was because she was married before, because now that I'm talking about it, because sometimes in some cultures it's very looked down upon if you had been married before. They see you as a used woman and all that, and probably a little bit in J-Dub world too, which is so unfair because the dude had a kid, you know. Why is he looking down on her? So who knows? I do not think that it had anything like personally to do with me. It was just that I knew her before. But whatever, I just realized, like, I don't want to be stuck in paradise with all these weirdos. I don't want to live in it's not paradise when my neighbor is the guy who called me a stripper back in the old life, you know. There's so many people that love the power, you know, I'm in charge, or so many people that love to, like, critique you, and I hated that. I'm also kind of a free bird, and I like to have fun. It doesn't really fit into a cult when you want to have, like, you know, I'm a little bit of a hippie, and that was hard to mold into this cult-like structure. But alas, this sentence, you're gonna have to live next to each other in paradise. Did you ever think that too? I would like to hear your stories, your weird, bizarre stories with weird, bizarre J-dubs that left you just thinking, what the heck just happened here? Or you thought, I do not want to live with these people. I would love to hear your experiences. Also, thank you so much for everybody who emails. I will email you back. It takes me a little while. I have kids. They're home for summer, but I will reply. Sometimes it just takes a while, and I always appreciate the emails too. So see you till the next episode, everybody. Bye.